Hello, you're listening to a Heroes Welcome, episode 17. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Wes. I'm here with Andrew to talk everything in the world of Overwatch.
And it's been a great week in Overwatch. I don't know about you, but I've been playing a ton of Overwatch. Been loving it lately.
I have not been playing often because I have family visiting out of state, and unfortunately, I wish I could play Overwatch way more. But I mean, I caught a little bit of the Overwatch Open. But yeah, man, this week, not much Overwatch, but
well, I've been playing enough for the both of us. You know, I've been having a lot of fun playing a lot more Genji than usual. Not so much to the soldier, but having a lot of fun with Genji. So
yeah, and you told me you had good luck with loot boxes.
Yeah, so ever since the summer games, I've actually had a lot better luck for whatever reason. I think the first couple of boxes I opened like 2 legendaries already back to back, and one of them was Genji. So
you went like 30 or 40 levels without a single loot box.
Yeah, I went a ton without a single one, and then the one that I got was a Zarya, who I don't play. So
yeah, but you should learn her, you know. But
I'll pick her up at some point for sure.
But yeah, we have a great show. Our coverage on strategy is going to be about Junkrat. Very, very cool guy.
I know you like to play a lot of Junkrat. I play a little bit here and there, so we'll have some cool tips for him. We got a lot of tournament stuff going on, some big news coming up too. So let's kind of jump right into it.
Yeah, let's start with news. Let's talk first about the Overwatch World Cup. I'm sure you've heard about it, seen it in the launcher and the game and everything. So the voting is now open. We talked a little bit about it last episode, but now the voting is open. So what you do is you just go to Blizzard's website. They have a dedicated website for it, and you're able to vote specifically for players that you like. And it does require you to have the game like a product key.
Right, so you actually have to have bought in the game, and you have to have a Battle.net account. And so you're able to go and log in and just go ahead and vote. They have, it's a limited pool of people you're voting for, specific, pros in the scene, people who are big-time gamers, people who are doing really well on the ladder and such. So there's a lot of people to vote for. I know I already voted. I think you probably already voted. So go in there and vote for your favorite people.
Yep, and you'll be able to see them at BlizzCon, so you're voting for the event that happens at BlizzCon this year, 2016. We talked a little bit about last episode, but, they're not going to they don't have enough time to really establish a whole tournament like a World Cup kind of thing, but it's going to be like you vote for your people you like, and then they get invited, and they'll fly them to BlizzCon, and they'll compete. There's no prize money, it's just for fun. And but I mean, getting flown to BlizzCon is like a pretty big prize.
Right. Well, they do have to make it through the exhibitions. There is a little bit of an online exhibition that will go on. So you'll vote for your favorite people. They will get chosen to be put into a roster. And it is, again, I don't think we mentioned this time, it's region specific. So if you're in the NA, you cannot vote for somebody in the EU and such. So you have to vote for your region. They get put into a roster, and if they make it past the exhibitions, which will be starting sometime in September, we don't know exactly when, then they will make it to BlizzCon. There are some exceptions we talked about last time that are going to get directly put into BlizzCon just because of some exceptions and such. But so definitely looking forward to that. Go ahead, vote for your favorite people, and hopefully we'll see them at BlizzCon.
Yeah, so just a reminder, we don't have the exact date on when they're going to stop the voting phase, but just go ahead and vote now. And another reminder, on the 17th of August will be the last day of Season 1.
So coming up real quick. So if you're trying to push that ranking a little bit further, definitely get in as much time as you can. There's only a few days left before the 17th, and it will end.
Right, so the seasons in the game actually follow the seasons of, the summer, winter, spring, and fall.
Northern Hemisphere. So
right, so, and we did start kind of, far into summer. That's why this first one's a little shorter than it normally would be. So normally it would be 3 months. Usually, a couple weeks, like in between seasons. It's kind of like Diablo, if you're familiar with.
Yeah, it's like a 2-week gap in between seasons. So
that's why this season was so short. But, for now on, every 3 months we'll have a new season. And definitely looking forward to that because we'll have, more features. Better map balancing, like no coin flips and stuff.
Oh man, so looking forward to that. I'm not a fan of the coin flips right now.
Yeah, so go ahead and get the highest possible rank. You have till 17th, and then your rewards. We talked about the last episode. This in the show notes as well. The point allocation depending on your performance, but that is dependent on your highest achievable. So you don't have to be afraid of like falling down and losing ranks.
Right, so wherever you hit the highest, that's where you will be rewarded for.
Yeah, so it looks like I'll probably be ending at 69 unless I get some games in, but that's a good number, 69.
That's a really good number. It's better than I did, but hopefully next season will be a lot better for me. Hopefully I'll get a lot better in the placement. So
to be honest, for the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I've just been quick match mostly, just like playing characters I normally don't play, because competitive is like, okay, I got to play, the very specific character that's going to, perform the best. But in quick play, it's really fun. I get to play my Ana and my, all the, people who you normally don't get to play.
Yeah,
right?
the fun picks, yeah. So.
And I don't have any incentive to play competitive because 69 is the highest, 300
yeah,
skill
and
points.
I've been playing nothing but competitive. I mean, I haven't played quick play since competitive came out, pretty much, just because I can always be higher in the competitive ladder, I think. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. But I just recently, like I said, I stopped kind of playing the safe picks and just going with something that I enjoy playing and something I know I can play well. So I've been playing a lot of Genji. It's been working out. I actually kind of stayed away from it for a little while because I figured that it wouldn't be good for the team overall, but it's been working out, so we'll see.
Right, and one last reminder is the 22nd of August, the Summer Games end, so assuming that, the loot crates will go away.
Right, so it'll be your last chance to get any kind of loot crates, any content from the Summer Games. That will all be going away, and as well as the Lucio Ball will be going away, which I had a little bit of fun playing. I didn't play a lot of it, but I enjoyed his little type of kind of offhand mini game that you can kind of play with it. So
I do expect that all those rewards and skins and stuff will come back next summer. I'm assuming.
Oh, I'm sure.
Probably with
I'm
more,
sure it did
so.
really well. I know a lot of people liked a lot of the loots and skins that came out of there, so I'm sure we'll see it next.
So the big
summer.
controversy, we got talking about it on the forums, especially people talking about not being able to purchase these, specific Summer Game skins and rewards with credits, because they're saying, oh, well, they told us, when the game came out that everything would be purchasable with in-game credits, and now, they're going back on the word.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't see the huge uproar over it. I mean, I don't know, a lot of people like the loot and the skins specifically from the Summer Games, and they want to have it all. But, I mean, we talked about this, I think, on the last episode, and Kaplan came out specifically said that, that kind of defeats the purpose of having a seasonal event. You want something special. I think back to other games that I've played and where there were seasonal things or specific things, specifically in Blizzard games, that I really wanted. And it really hyped me up for that seasonal event come around when I'm like, I really want this one thing that comes in this season, and you basically get rid of that if you give it to everybody. So
right, well, it can still feel special if it's time limited, right? So you can't get it after the games.
It doesn't really feel special if you just purchase something. I mean, if you purchase it, it's like, okay, whatever, you have it, but then everybody's going to just purchase it because it's the one cool thing, and then you all have it.
Not everybody, because there's lots of cool things.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, I mean, I much more prefer the seasonal, and they just keep things specifically, drop so that you can feel special when you get it. So
yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion. I don't really care, to be honest, but there's literally hundreds and hundreds of pages on the forums about that one.
Tons of people obviously upset and a little heated about it, but that's forums in general. I don't really expect much.
Yeah,
of that,
Blizzard has to make money. They're a company, so
it is what it is, So hopefully we won't see any crazy changes to that. So.
All right, so let's move on. We know that a new animated short's coming our way. It's called The Last Bastion. It's all about Bastion.
Right, so awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I really like Bastion as a character in the game. I'm not crazy about all the people on my team that want to play Bastion all the time, especially on certain weird situations and attack and such, but I really love him as a character. He's a fun character. He kind of meets that whole little, niche for people, so I really like it. Looking forward to seeing what kind of interesting thing they can put together for people.
Right, so we know it premieres exclusively at Gamescom, which is August 18th at 9 in the morning Pacific time.
Right, so if you're at Gamescom, you can specifically go see that premiere live, and if you're not going to Gamescom, you can watch it live, and we'll have it linked in the show notes. It's at gamecon.blizzard.com.
Right, and we need more excuses for people to play Bastion, Inspire
inspire the Bastions of the world, As if, some of that tournament play Golden Bastion didn't inspire people enough as it was,
Right, so something else in news is the high bandwidth servers. This has been requested so much.
We talked about this in the past, and it's one of the things that I've been talking about a lot. The high bandwidth server option, they added that in the custom games for people to test out, and I really was looking forward to them to make this change, and it is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. They are rolling out high bandwidth support globally. It is going to be across the board on PCs so far, pretty soon here within the next few weeks.
Right, so all the platforms, I'm assuming are eventually going to get it. So, in the US we have it. I know Europe has gotten the 60 tick rate servers. And have you noticed a big difference?
I haven't played a lot since they did release it, but I have noticed a slight difference on my side of things. My internet connection isn't the greatest, so I don't see a huge improvement, but a lot of people with really good internet are going to see a big difference because, honestly, people with bad internet, the internet and the ping is what's holding them back. But with people with really good, strong signals, they're going to notice a huge difference.
Yeah, pretty much the people who aren't being extrapolated all the time should...
Right, interpolated, yeah. So, I mean, basically, we'll kind of break it down just real simple for everybody who doesn't know. You have basically, you have a client server, and then your client side, and then you have the server. So, if you're firing at an enemy, your client has to check to the server for their position, and then their client has to check back to the server. And basically, what we're talking about is the server is constantly updated. Since the game was released, it's always been 60 tick rate, so it's about 60 per second. And it was only updating the client, sending back to the client only about 20 tick rate. And so they're actually updating the client from 21 tick rate to 63. So it's going to be in line with the server tick rate, and it's going to be a lot smoother. So you won't see too many of those weird instances where you're getting killed around a corner and such. So.
Right. So the competitive scene's been asking for this for a long time. They introduced the optional. And they had some troubles with that, but they got the kinks out, seems like. And now it's going to be in all the forms, right? Quick play and the competitive.
Quick play and competitive. So it's going to be default across the board. You won't have to touch anything pretty soon here. It will be just default, and you just go into the game, and you'll get to experience that 60 tick rate. It's going to make things much more comfortable for everybody and a much smoother play. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting some games in with that.
Right, and yeah, I talked to a few people. They said, it's a little increases. I mean, it's just certain things that happen, like getting hooked from, Roadhog and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you're going to notice it the most. I mean, honestly, just running around and playing through the game, you're going to notice it's a lot smoother, but you're not going to notice that huge difference in the update from the server until you're Tracer and you're blinking around a corner and you were safe around the corner, but you got shot and killed. And, when you watch the replay back, you're, miles away from where you thought you were. So it'll be much better for those experiences.
Yeah, with Roadhog, he has a really big hitbox too, so that's not always like a tick rate issue. But yeah, I mean, you notice, when you go behind a wall, then, I play a lot of Tracer, right? So a lot of times before, I know I throw my ult, my bomb, and I hear it, I see it go off on my screen, but I died. But in the replay cam, my ult never was used. I still have my ult charged, when I res. So stuff like that should be happening less often.
Yeah, you'll get a lot less of that happening. And like you said, Roadhog, I play a lot of Roadhog. So yeah, that's more of a hitbox issue because sometimes it's really weird. You'll throw it around a corner and it will hit the person, but it will pull them to the corner and it won't bring them to you. Or sometimes it'll actually ring around the rows of them and pull them around the corner to you.
And my favorite is when you see Roadhog aim for somebody and it completely, someone that's not even in line of sight or on screen gets pulled out from it.
Right.
It's the funniest thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff going on there. So some of that stuff has not got anything to do with the high bandwidth, but check it out. Have a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. So.
Yeah, and I did want to point out that, this was kind of a move in my eyes for Blizzard to recognize the competitive scene. Like, this is something that's going to be needed for the game to be taken more seriously, and I commend them for that. And we also discovered that, some other things took priority before this initially, but they actually bumped up to 60 tick servers and, over things I believe they talked about
the replays and
like recording your games and saving highlights and stuff like that. They're still working on that, but that kind of got pushed back because the same guys that'd be working on that was working on a 60 tick.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things where, when the game came out, they thought that it was going to be all fine and dandy, but I mean, it's really something that needed to be addressed really quickly, and so I'm glad that they kind of bumped those things out of the way. I mean, I would love to have the replays and the recording and stuff like that, but much prefer having this updated just for a better gaming experience across the board. Another quick note, Kaplan did mention, too, that because this was kind of a quick thing that they did, and a lot of people, like myself, don't have a hugely strong internet connection, they're actually looking forward to real soon adding in also basically an automatic adaptive scale, which will actually adaptively scale your tick rate to the best that your server can handle. So if your internet's not strong enough to handle 60 tick, it will actually scale it back to what's comfortable so that you can still have the best experience you can at your internet connection.
Right, and for people who don't understand anything we're saying, pretty much the game has like a refresh rate, just like your monitor or your phone. How often the image gets
right.
refreshed.
All the information goes from the server to come back to the client, and it refreshes. It's going to be doing that a lot more often. It's going to make things a lot smoother.
Yeah, so 60 times every or 63 times every second, the server updates. The location, the projectiles, and all that kind of thing. So it'll be more accurate.
Right. So yeah, definitely a lot better.
All right, so let's talk about potential changes in the balance realm. A little bit of blue dev talk on the forums, getting us a little bit of insight what's to come in the future, right? So first, Genji's dash will no longer ignore Junkrat's steel trap.
Right. So, I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of... I love playing Genji, and as soon as I heard that there might be changes, nerfs coming to him, I was really worried. But this isn't that big of a deal. I think it's a normal thing. I think everybody else gets trapped by the steel trap, so it's normal.
And the only thing they had to fix is Zenyatta getting trapped, because he's not supposed to get trapped. Right?
Yeah,
he's
his
just
feet are
levitating.
not on the ground, right? I mean, he can't keep his feet on the ground, that guy. But, yeah, so a little bit of things happening with Zenyatta, too. And this is all things that they're talking about probably going to happen in the future. So not yet, but sooner down the line.
What if it has a big magnet in the trap and it just sucks him in?
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's Junkrat with his crazy traps. But
yeah, he's pretty crazy.
But yeah, so Zenyatta, they found after they kind of buffed him just recently in the last patch, he's a little bit too strong, so they're possibly looking to reduce him a little bit, just a little knockdown, and it's probably going to be coming in the form of a Discord orb reduction. So look forward to seeing that in the future. I love playing Zenyatta, but I got to agree, he probably a little too strong where he is now.
He's really good. I was thinking about getting golden balls on him, my golden weapons.
Right.
I'll probably still do that. I don't know. But, I mean, you could nerf Discord, because right now it's 50%, right? You receive 50% more damage. They can nerf it to 30%, and that's what we're thinking right there. We're going to probably change that
somewhere
somehow.
more in line with that, yeah.
And it'd still be, way better than Mercy's damage boost. I mean, it's still going to be good.
Right, and, I mean, the only thing that I have a complaint with that is just that, Zenyatta is, like I said, a little bit too strong right now, and ultimately it's not even just that he's that strong. It's the fact that because he is strong, both, offensively and support-wise, a lot of people play him too offensively, and they get themselves into trouble, or they don't prioritize healing. It's really weird. So I hope they will pull him a little bit more in line, and things will be a lot better. But, we'll look forward to seeing what happens with that.
All right, and we also found some chit-chat about possibly buffing Mercy. They're talking about even maybe possibly a new ability, combine that to E, right? Because that's open.
Right, so, I mean, it's one of the things they talk about. She needs a little bit of a buff. They're not so sure whether it's going to come in the phase of a new ability or not. I mean, she doesn't really need another ability. They kind of talked about that. She has a lot of stuff going on. She's one of those weird, very versatile people. She's doing a lot all at once. But they're thinking they could possibly do that. But if they do, it's going to be something more kind of out of combat, rarely used, kind of just maintenance stuff that she does.
Right, and the last character to talk about potential balance changes is Mei. Possibly buffing her ultimate is what they're looking at.
Right, so the thing is Mei is really strong one-on-one, and she has a lot of very useful utility, but she's not seeing a lot of competitive play just because she doesn't have the raw output that some other characters, flankers specifically like Tracer and Genji have, and so she kind of has a really weird position in the game right now. So they're hopefully going to try and bump her up a little bit, have her get a little bit more play time, and so they're thinking about making it to where her actual projectile that she throws, her ult, will actually be able to maybe go through barriers and such, and maybe even increase the radius of her ult a little bit. So
maybe her primary fire could go through barriers. That might make her really good.
That'll make her a little too strong, I think. But yeah.
I mean, it's not, a little Winston barrier, or Reinhardt, or Zarya.
Yeah, but I mean, the frontline tanks, for them to be able to get frozen really quickly, I don't know, that's a little too strong in my opinion. But we'll see. Maybe she'll get a little bump. I'd like to see her in more tournament play. I've seen her very early on in the beta. I've seen her, played a little bit, and she was really fun. I had a lot of fun watching her play. So.
Right, so we'll definitely cover anything. If any of those come to fruition on the patch notes, we'll definitely cover that. And last thing to talk about is the Watchpoint Gibraltar balancing results. They gave us some information. So in the past, we've seen some changes to Gibraltar. Some changes come to mind. They added a whole new checkpoint. So you got the checkpoint under the bridge. Before that never existed, right at the very underpass.
Right, yeah. So the underpass location, they actually put that in there specifically for the coin flip and such. Yeah,
and they also, that came before the coin flip, I believe. And
yeah, actually, I'm sorry, yeah, I did. But
and they mess with the times a little. I think they gave you more time on attack.
Yeah, so a little bit adjustment, not a huge difference, but just little adjustments make all the difference. And so we're actually seeing much better win rate. So before it was about 64% to the attackers, and now after the changes, it's more in line. It's almost exactly 50.5%. So.
Right, so that's one of the hard things about the game, right, is balancing the win rate on attack and defense. And with the time bank system, that does help quite a bit in the competitive scene, right, to get a better quality match and have the better team actually win. But just having as close to 50-50 as you can for attackers and defenders is ideal, and that's quite a bit. From 64% to 50.5% is pretty good.
Right, and it's just right on almost 50%, so that's awesome. So good job, guys.
Right, so let's change gears now. Let's talk about the competitive scene. We have the big tournaments going on. Let's start with ESL, the Atlantic Showdown. main event is happening at Cologne, Germany, August 21st.
Right, so definitely looking forward to that. That's one of the big ones going on in Cologne, Germany, coming up right here, 21st. So we have actually the finals. So final qualifier number 4, we have Group A, the Misfits versus Fnatic, and Creation versus Envious. And Group B is Reunited versus Complexity, which was formerly Team Solid Mid or Code 7, and Rogue versus Cloud9. So they're all going to be moving on to the Cologne, Germany main event.
Yeah, so that's just pretty much a week away. $100,000 tournament, pretty big deal. And, they'll have they have a bunch of Blizzard stuff going on down there.
A lot of Blizzard stuff going down there. So as we mentioned before, you have the animated short and
such. It's at Gamescom, right?
At Gamescom as well, yep. So a lot of things going on there. MB, anybody who's going to be getting to go there and have some fun. So, yeah. Watch out for that. So next up, a little bit of news. Speaking of Team Solid Mid, you notice we mentioned it was Reunited going up against Complexity. So Team Solid Mid, previously Code 7, they actually transferred their entire roster over to Complexity Gaming. A little bit of weird things going on with them. So again, they were formerly Code 7 or Gale Force Esports. We got Torque, Nicholas, JKW, Joe Meister, Shake, and Harblue, one of my favorite tanks. I know you like Harblue a lot. TSM owner Andy Dunn actually released a full statement basically saying that there were some previous allegations and they thought that they could work through them, but he's just more focused on their reputation, and so they kind of parted ways.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time we've seen teams, pretty much the contracts be shorted. I mean, not specifically for the same allegations, but a lot of different teams swapping. And that's to be expected, right? Because Overwatch is still very new. A few months, 3 months? Maybe not
right,
even.
So it's very new, and we're seeing a lot of roster changes. But this, I think, the first time we've really seen, major allegations and such. Not even stemming from Overwatch. It came from previous experiences, just something that's carried over with a couple of the players from the team. And it really kind of sucks for them because it's nothing, like I said, that's actually in Overwatch. Nothing has happened within that realm. So, we wish them the best. Hopefully things will work out for them. I know I enjoyed watching them a lot. So, definitely, hopefully everything works out.
It's fortunate that Complexity picked them up almost immediately, too. So it's not like, they're on the back burner.
They're a really good team. So they were playing really well. Like I said, I mean, they've been doing amazing. Team Solid Mid picked them up when they were really on their high point, and they've been kind of really, really doing really well since then. So, somebody would definitely pick them up. It just kind of sucks that kind of followed them around.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Overwatch Open, which is, to this date, the biggest prize pool. We're talking $300,000. And right now we're in the number 4 qualifiers, the last qualifiers, right?
Right, the final qualifiers before they will go off to the playoffs. We have EU is actually already finished, so we got the final number 4 qualifier, and LG will be moving on out of this number 4 qualifier. They won it 3-2 versus the Immortals. Great game. If you want to watch a game, hopefully they have the VODs up on that, and you can go watch that. I will put it in the links, but definitely some top-notch play from both sides. It was a really close match, and I wanted to give a little tidbit to Shadowburn, the Genji on Immortals. Even though they didn't take it, he had an amazing game. He was playing great all across the board. So if you want some Genji play, go check it out.
Right, and on the North America scene, they happen a little bit later in the day. We had the semifinals where we had a Complexity against Sody Pop, and Complexity took that 2-0. We also had Liquid versus NRG in the semifinal as well, and Liquid took that 2-0. And we talked a little bit about the NRG last week. Right.
So NRG, previously the LG Gaming, Luminosity Gaming team. So they hopefully, they'll find their footing a little bit better. They didn't fare so well against Liquid. Liquid taking it 2-0 pretty defiantly there. But so the finals actually is still being played. It should be pretty soon. It'll be over.
Yeah, it's tied 2-2 right now. It's currently going on as we're recording.
So it's a really good game. So definitely, again, check that out. Hopefully as soon as it finishes.
And that's between
Complexity versus Liquid, and that's going on right now. It's tied 2-2. So definitely good luck to both of those teams. Hopefully,
right. And they'll get the last chance to proceed in Overwatch Open, a chance for $300,000,
and they will be heading to the playoffs. So the winners of Complexity versus Liquid.
Right, and one other little tournament we want to spotlight is called the Nexus Cup. I know you wanted to talk a lot about it. We have some other interesting scenes, from the China-Korea scene.
Right, so we always like to highlight any kind of different scenes going on, any different tournaments. I mean, it's specifically China versus Korea, so, you won't be able to understand a lot unless you speak the language, but you can always watch the Overwatch play and just see. I caught a little bit of it. It's cool to see the kind of different plays they run and the different people that they are, heroes that they're using. So they're kind of going a lot more the standard route. They have one tank, one healer, and that's it. Whereas, in the EU and NA, we see a lot more of a double healer and double tank. So good games. Check it out. MVP, Snake, Unplugged, E-Star, MIG, NGA, MIG Frost. Check it out. See what you think.
So it's kind of like a training tournament. There is a $9,000 US dollar prize pool.
Right, that's the total prize pool across the board. I think it's $1,500 for the winners, but it's cool, just a little kind of tournament play for them to kind of come together and see who's the best out of that region.
Right, and they're in week 3 and they're going for 6 weeks, so right in the middle. And I love watching them. It's very interesting. I don't understand any of it. Google Translate doesn't quite work.
I was on the site and I was like, oh, Google Translate, that'll solve the problem. And I clicked it and they're still speaking Asian. I don't understand a word of it, but
the live feed's not going to translate. Yeah,
it really doesn't translate.
But I mean, you should see them all animated, and you get to point out, some like names of characters.
Yeah, some people are really animated. Some people, one of the guys that I was watching, he was just completely nothing, like nothing going on. It didn't faze him. He died and nothing. So. Yeah, that will be picking up week number 3, August 19th. Check it out.
All right, so let's start our strategy, which is all about Junkrat. We talked a little bit about
Junkrat, the crazy Aussie. He likes to blow stuff up, sometimes himself, but we love him. I played a little bit Junkrat in the past. He's a fun character to play. He's one of those people that you don't have to have maybe the greatest aim to play him, but he definitely can be very strategic. So we're going to be breaking that down for you. You want to...
In the future of Australia, they have these two. I mean, what's the future of Australia going to look like? We have 2 of them in the game, Roadhog and Junkrat. They're both psychopath,
the villains too, right?
Yeah. What's happening in 6 years in Australia?
Right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on right now with Australia, period. So I don't know about the future, but we'll see.
All right, so Junkrat, he's got 200 health. He's got a frag launcher. People familiar with that from other games, very similar playstyle, right? A little grenade launcher dude.
He is the essential fragger. So his primary fire, he's got about 5 ammo in that frag launcher at a fire rate of about 1.5 seconds. It's about 120 damage for a direct hit and about 80 damage for splash damage. So again, it is splash damage. You can, kind of bounce it off of walls and such. So you're really looking to just kind of cover areas with that splash damage. And it has about a 1.5 second reload time, and you actually can hurt yourself with the frag grenade. So that's one thing you got to pay attention with.
Yeah, when you get a direct hit, I don't know if you said this, but you do a little bit more damage, and it has a splash damage as well.
Right, exactly. So 120 for a direct hit, 80 for the splash damage.
We also have the concussive mine, which is default on your shift on the PC. 8-second cooldown. It does 120 damage. I believe that also has a radius as well. And obviously you cannot headshot with it.
Yeah, it's one of my banes, especially when I play flankers like Genji, because you can usually block pretty much everything with Genji's deflect, but it doesn't really matter for the concussion mine because they just blow it up right in your face, and it does area damage and it hurts you. So definitely watch out for that. If you're a flanker, that's the thing that's probably going to kill you.
Right, and you can use that for mobility and stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that after the rundown. Let's talk about the still trap.
Right, so he's got a steel trap he places on the ground. It's a cooldown of about 10 seconds. It does a little bit of damage. There's 80 damage for anyone who steps in it, and it has a duration of 3 seconds. That's going to hold the person there. They're not going to be able to move. They still can use abilities and such, but they cannot get out of it. Reaper can't Wraith form out of it and such. So you can put that down in very strategic areas, block areas off, and we'll talk about later different ways to use that as well.
Yeah, most abilities can still be used, but some won't, like blink and recall.
Right. Basically things that are going to normally you would think, that would get you out of the trap are just not going to get you out of the trap. So.
Right. And the duration is pretty much infinite if you just lay it down. Yeah.
Right. It's not going to move. So unless somebody traps and gets stuck in it. So then we also got his ultimate. I'm sure you are aware. It's the Rip Tire. It is the very loud and very dangerous Rip Tire. It has a cast time about 1 second, so you are vulnerable for that time as Junkrat. He kind of stands there and pops the Rip Tire, and I love that. So many times I run up on him as Soldier, and you could just take him out right then and there. So definitely be careful with where you're using that 1 second cast time. It's about a 10-second duration once the Rip Tire is launched. It does up to about 600 damage, and the tire has about 100 health.
Yeah, so you're pretty susceptible when you Rip Tire, right? You get that big tire off your back. You pull it, get it started, and yeah, you are susceptible. You can just be standing there, but tons of damage, tons of potential. Like you said, it does hurt yourself in the radius.
Right, and it is very loud. So I mean, most time in competitive play, you see Junkrat. They're not getting a huge amount of value out of it because a lot of teams will right away prioritize it and take it out. So you have to be very careful with the way you use that, and we're going to talk a lot about that in the character discussion.
Right, yeah, it does have a health pool all of its own. It's 100. Used to be 150, but it went down 100.
Yeah. So his passive, Total Mayhem, another difference with him. He has a passive whenever he dies, it's going to activate Total Mayhem, and you're going to drop 5 grenades on the ground. They do up to about 300 damage, about 60 per grenade. So very dangerous for any kind of low health flanker that's going to be standing on top of Junkrat when he dies. Definitely do not stand on top of the Aussie when he dies. He will blow up.
Yeah, so this is probably like one of the first things like newcomers to the game like learn really quickly, right? It's like never just hang out, after you kill the Junkrat.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much don't want to hang out near anybody right after you kill them, but definitely not Junkrat. I mean, we've seen that really funny YouTube video. I think it was 3 tracers came in, and one of them
It was a lot more than 3. It was 5, I think.
Was it? And you see the one tracer kill him dead, and they all blink into it at the same time, and they all die. So you got like a 5 kill after he was dead. It was awesome.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So that's his kit, right? So let's talk about, playing to his strengths, using all of his tools and everything to increase your odds of winning, get a good amount of value. So he is you don't see a ton of him in competitive right now. There are certain scenarios I can think of that he's specifically good at. I know point A, defending on Hollywood is good. I like defending him on King's Row as well.
He is the epitomal defense character. I mean, he's perfectly placed in that position. He is really great for closing out certain areas, especially narrow corridors and such. You'll see him on First Point Hollywood. He's very good at closing off that main room or even just stopping major pushes through the front door.
Yeah, and when you're defending, a lot of times your attackers are trying to do some objective, which means, push a payload or get on this point. So his, kit, which is grenades blowing up and everything, it's very easy to direct them in a group of people trying to do something, right?
So when they have a designated area where they need to be, either the point that they need to be on or the payload that they need to be on, it makes it a lot easier for you to know where they're going to be going, obviously. Again, keep in mind, if people are running, like a tracer's running away, you probably know they're going to a health pack. If you know where the nearest health pack is, bing, that makes it pretty easy to know where she's going, so... again, his kit is very different from a lot of other characters. He uses angles, the high ground, and he plays very far back. If you play him well, you can definitely be very decisive on Junkrat.
Yeah, so there's tons of things to cover. Let's see. Let's start with the fact that you don't actually have to be in line of sight a lot of times to cover these alleyways and stuff. So you're able to put out quite a bit of damage and cover quite a bit of area without actually exposing yourself, because you can lob the grenades over things or even bounce them between walls. So that you have an advantage there, right?
Right. So if you know any kind of basic geometry, you use a little bit of geometry to, find out where the angle is going to be, and you're able to do a lot of damage and cover a huge area without having to even be seen. It's one of the best things about Junkrat. If you play him well, you don't want to be vulnerable. You should
especially
not be
in rooms and in small closed-off areas.
You can really stop people. I mean, the defending second point on a lot of areas, you can really close it off and make it really hard for any kind of major push.
Right, so just use that to your advantage. Obviously, his primary attack does have like a lob curve, so you could easily get him over walls, and they bounce about like 5 times before they explode. And yeah, you have 5 of them in your launcher. Only takes a second and a half to reload. You could constantly be putting those down a thing. And let's talk about using high ground and elevation. So one
of the biggest things about Junkrat is a lot of people don't know, but it's harder for him to aim up and project those grenades up and know exactly where they're going to land. So you want to make sure as Junkrat you have the high ground advantage, because it's much easier to shoot down at someone and lob the grenades than it is to shoot up. So definitely keep that in mind. If you can keep the high ground, you're definitely at an advantage as him.
Yes, and you could easily do that by using your concussive mine, right? So a lot of people know this already, but concussive mine, you throw this mine out on the ground and it kind of sticks to a wall or the ground or whatever. And what happens is you have a little detonator in your left hand, which also to point out, you have a special little slash wave emote.
I knew you were gonna mention that. You love that little emote.
When
it's
he
really
has
funny.
When he has a detonator and you wave to somebody, it's got a different animation. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, he's just wiggling his fingers. A crazy little Aussie with the detonator in his hand.
Yeah, so you could detonate that manually, and the thing that obviously could hurt people, we talked about, it does 120 damage, direct hit, but it also allows you to have mobility, right? And it doesn't hurt you, so you have some abilities that hurt yourself, like your ultimate and your primary attack, but the concussive mine's not going to hurt you, and you're going to want to use that for mobility, so you're actually able to use that to launch yourself up to high grounds, take past that other people can't. You could easily use it for engaging or disengaging.
Yeah, the concussive mine is really the one thing that you're going to use a lot as Junkrat. It's one of the things that you can use it so versatilely. You can use it to get movement on yourself. You can place it. You can launch yourself up. You can even place it when you're in the air and launch yourself again. You can even put it under enemies. It will do damage to them, and it'll also launch them up in the air, which takes away a lot of their mobility. They can't move when they're in the air. They can't control their positioning, and it makes it really easy for you to hit them.
Right, and one of the things I like to do, if you have a flanker pestering you like a Tracer, a Genji or something, you're able to, throw it and immediately detonate it, which will do damage, but it also moves you, so it like serves two purposes initially right away. And it is important to point out that, you could just stand on it and then detonate it and move yourself, but it does take into consideration, physics. So if you're already moving in one direction, like if you jump and then detonate it, the extra acceleration
in that direction,
verticality out of it.
You have a little bit of control over it, definitely. So take a look, use that in any way that you can. There's definitely a lot of very interesting ways you can use that.
Right, so let's talk about fighting. We talked a little bit about choke points. So he succeeds very well in choke points.
Right, so choke points is really what you want to fight around. When you're very first starting out in the match, especially on the defense side of things, your team will agree upon probably usually where you guys want to start and hold best, and basically it's usually around a turn or a choke point of some sort, and that's really where you want to play at with Junkrat. So you want to play back and you want to use that choke point as an advantage, especially if it's a turn or such. You can use it and bounce your grenades off of those corners.
Yeah, you'll be surprised just one Junkrat could cover a huge area. I mean, a lot of times you could be with your team behind your Reinhardt shield and be safe, but a lot of times he succeeds so well by just covering a huge portion of the map and denying access by yourself, and then having your whole other team on the ground
on a different area, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, he succeeds so well at doing that not only even can he stop and hold whole areas by himself, but even if somebody does manage to get through or a portion of the team, you're going to severely damage them coming through, and you're going to make them really vulnerable once they do get there. So a lot of times it's a big strategy to have one or two other flankers maybe hold back around that choke point, have Junkrat damage the people as they come through, and then the flankers just take them out.
Right, so let's talk about using the mine and the trap together. Obviously, highly trafficked areas, if there's a building with a door, you can put it there. It's important to point out that the trap looks visually different if it's a friendly or a faux trap. The most easiest way to determine is if it's a faux trap, it lays underground some, so it's harder to see. And if it's a friendly trap, it's just laying very visibly.
Yeah, right on the ground.
Yeah, so it's a little bit harder to see. And obviously, if you're Junkrat, placing that, I even look at like the floor, if there's like a color change or elevation change, like stairs or something, is really good at, because it's very be a lot harder to see.
It's a little obscured, yeah. So definitely watch out for those traps on the ground. You can actually destroy the traps and the concussive mines if they're placed on the ground. You can destroy them before you walk.
If you're an enemy.
If you're an enemy, yes.
Yeah. So they can be destroyed if they're shot at, if they do spot it out. But it's something to point out that it does give you a global alert, right? So if you put a trap, right in front of the spawn or something, that gives you enemy locations, like at least one enemy is over there. Kind of like Symmetra turret, you do that with Symmetra, right? You just put up a mine or, a little turret, and you don't expect to kill anybody with it, but it lets you know, that they're coming in from that direction.
Right, so it gives you a little bit of an ult charge as well as that global alert, and it doesn't matter where you are on the map, it'll actually pop up on your screen if you're playing Junkrat and let you know exactly what direction the trap was broke from.
Yep, you use a little bit of geometry. You could just spam your grenades on the thing. Usually, most of the time, not even in line of sight, but you just know where you put your trap. You lob a bunch of grenades
good Junkrats will keep the trap within range enough to actually hit it without actually being in, maybe line of sight of it. So they'll actually put it down, and if a flanker gets caught, they can actually just turn right around and just take out the person who's trapped in that trap.
Yeah, and a common combination is to combine the mine and trap, right? So you could put the mine and trap pretty much right on top of each other, or put the mine maybe like on a wall or something and trap on the ground. And when you see that triggered, you just pull the trigger, detonate the mine. That's tons of damage. I mean, unless it's a tank or something, special, they're gonna die.
Take them out, yeah. So yeah, you can definitely use it that way. It's very destructive.
And you could use the concussive mine at any distance. There is no distance. A lot of times you'll die in res, and you just trigger it, maybe get lucky. Someone's standing nearby.
You never know.
Yeah. So there's no range obviously on any visibilities really. I mean, the tire has a time duration range, but you could be anywhere on the map and detonate it, and in the still trap, there will be that global alert, so you can see it. Kind of like, Diva ults, and you see the big exclamation point. So you see it through the walls. Very obvious. And
Yeah, and just on the steel trap as well, using it on vulnerable targets is another way to really get value out of it. Using it, maybe say after a May cryo freezes, you could put it right in front of them. A sleep target, anything that's been sleeped by Ana and such. Mercy, when she's rezzing, makes it really easy to just put that trap down and get a easy trap.
So I got some feedback. You pronounce Ana incorrectly. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I know. I say Ana. I know it's just common for me to say Ana when I see the ANA, but it is Ana. She is not American. She is
Egyptian.
Egyptian. I was gonna say that wrong too, but
you get all the nationalities wrong. So
I know, right? I get everything wrong, but yeah. So it is Ana.
Ana, yeah. So if you see Ana sleep someone, putting a trap on them is very good. And then they did make the change to Ana where there's like a little like half a second delay from waking the target as well.
Right.
So it should be even easier to land that.
Easily awoken, yeah.
Yeah, but just look for those opportunities. You see a Mercy res. It's very obvious where they're at. But yeah, May is my favorite. She freezes, a little ice block. And it's like, okay, I'll just put a trap under you. And we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I really hate when May freezes when I'm playing a Genji or something like that, because then it's like you feel like you could kill her so easy when she comes out of it, but you're wasting time waiting for her. So if you're playing Junkrat, it's really easy just to trap her and kind of forget about her until she comes out, and you can just kill her.
Yeah, so. The trap, obviously, anyone that's like got predictable movement, like even like a Reinhardt charge. If you see it coming from
Roadhog is a good one. There's really obvious movement with Roadhog. He doesn't have any kind of movement ability, so you can just kind of trap him really easy.
Or High Noon. You could probably just, kill him with your left click, but it'd be funny. Gag,
Yeah. Make him waste it,
Right. So let's talk about using Custom Mine for damage and mobility. We'll talk a little bit about it, right? So you can use them to do both at the same time, and you'll push yourself back and push them back. You're able to scale roofs with this ability. You're able to get some really high distance.
And not just the distance, but your movement is really sporadic when you use it. A lot of people, when they're engaged in a combat, they won't even notice that the trap is, or that the mine is down there. So you're able to run around, kind of spam, and then right when they might have you in line of sight, you just use that concussive mine and you're up in the air, and they have to now retarget you and such. So it makes it a lot harder for people to hit you if you have sporadic movement.
Yeah, when you are in the air free falling, you are kind of vulnerable too, right?
Yeah, it's a trade-off. You are definitely vulnerable, but it's definitely good, especially if they're really low in health. If you fought them a little bit, they're low in health, you can definitely use it and get that last shot off.
Yeah, but flankers who don't have good range, like a Tracer or maybe like a Genji or Reaper, having that distance doesn't really matter because they can't really hurt you.
Right, exactly.
So let's talk about when to use Riptire?
Right, so the when, where, and how on Riptire. Riptire is your ultimate ability, is super strong. If you can pull it off, you can do major damage to the whole team, but it is very hard to kind of get really good value out of it because it's very loud. A lot of people look for it, they prioritize it, and they take it down. It only has 100 health now, so you really got to kind of be careful with that. One of the things I think you were going to specifically mention is the wall climbing with this ability.
Yeah, it's not super obvious. A lot of new players won't realize that you can climb walls with the Riptire. They have the spikes in the tire. That's what they're there for. You just hold spacebar similar to like a Genji or, wall climb, right? Or Hanzo wall climb. You just hold the spacebar. You're able to climb. That allows you to take, entrance paths that aren't obvious. And obviously the tire is very loud. Everybody will hear it just like every ultimate in the game. And when you do use it, you have a second of vulnerability. Usually, you're safe behind a wall somewhere. But you have 10 seconds. You're able to climb walls. Best way to just come and land on them from afar. Obviously, you combine it with other ults and stuff for a good effect.
Right, of course, Zarya combo is always good. May or Reinhardt combo, really easy to combo with the Junkrat Riptire. But another really good tip, using the high ground again in elevation, especially if you're really close to the enemy team, but you're not visible. They don't know you're there. You're able to pull it off. They will hear it launch. But that's really the benefit. If you're close to them, they'll hear it. Everybody will turn to look for it when they don't see it because it's above them, maybe on top of a roof or something. As soon as you can launch that and you can get it off, you can blow it up and really take out a lot of people before they even know where it's coming from.
Right, and a good strategy is not to, because you have 10 seconds, which is a long time, especially if you're close to them. You could use your ult, kind of like you do in High Noon, where you wait it out. So you could just stall them, especially wait for your team to engage maybe. You have 10 seconds, which is a long time, so you could pop it, just hide your tire up against a wall or something. They're still going to hear it, but being able to enter, at a time where they least expect it, and also knowing who to use it on, right? If you're chasing down a Lucio, it's really hard for Lucio to do 100 damage, So knowing your targets.
Right, exactly. Whereas somebody else, like a tank might be able to just take it out really easy. But the other
like
thing,
a Reinhardt wouldn't be able to.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, he's a tank, but he doesn't really have any range damage. So even if he's close enough to hit it with the hammer, he's gonna die. So.
Right. So it's pretty much just prioritizing the targets. Zenyatta should be easy to kill. Obviously you don't want to pretty much like your hit scan, right? Like a Widow or a McCree or a 76, they're going to be able to easily kill your tire. Right,
and Reaper has an out on it as well. So, definitely learning who to use it on as well. And as you mentioned, kind of using that full 10 seconds to your advantage, because even if you pop it and people hear it right away, especially if you're near them and they hear it really loud, they're like, oh, it's real close. They're expecting it to go off pretty much right away. And so if you wait that time out a little bit and they don't see exactly where you're coming from, they kind of lose sense of time and the direction of where it might be coming from.
Yeah, and it automatically like runs forward, but you could just put it up against the wall and just stop it.
Right, or run it into a building where no one's at and they don't know where it's at, and then you just come out like a back door or something and just take them all out by surprise.
All right, well, I think that pretty much covers up Junkrat. Was there anything else?
I think that's pretty much it for Junkrat. You use all your toolkit to your advantage. Use high ground elevation, stay at a distance, put your traps down, and just use your whole kit, and you should be pretty good with him. Yeah, he has a lot of little subtle things you learn over time. Just everything from like exactly how the primary grenades fall. You'll be able to hit the Pharahs and the Mercies like midair a lot better. Being able to a lot of it's just seat time, practicing with them. I know Junkrat was. When I first played the game early beta, was my favorite character. Like I don't have to aim that well. I just get in, learn the mechanics of the game. He's pretty well rounded. He's not super hard countered. You could do pretty well with him in a lot of situations. He's just a really fun character. They built a really fun character with him. Just everything from the voice lines to his animations and such, and just his gameplay overall. It's really well rounded and done really well. So. Enjoy that. Hope you guys learned a little something about Junkrat, and you can take that into your next competitive. I think that's going to do it for Junkrat and for the show. So thanks, guys, for listening. And we forgot our next hero. So who are we going to leave it up to the audience again?
Yeah, I think we'll continue with the same trend we've been doing. So, we've covered probably at least half of the characters. But if you're listening and you want a specific character covered in the discussion, then write us. You can write us on Twitter. Or email us, and we'll give you that information in just a minute, and it'll be always in the show notes or description.
Right, so message us, let us know who you'd like us to cover, and maybe we'll be covering your favorite hero next. So thanks again for listening, guys. See you guys next week on the next show, and I hope you guys like the show.
Right, and this show is brought to you by 2 Moon Studios. Thank you so much to the people who have taken the time to reach out to us, whether it's on the email, which is a heroeswelcomepodcast@gmail.com, or we are on Twitter @2moonstudios. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and until next time.
Till next time.